Buongiorno and welcome to another video. Today is check-in day. I weighed 86 kilograms on the dot this morning. This is the it's the heaviest I've ever been in my life, which feels strange to say considering that my body fat is not really that high. I think admittedly I've just really been under eating in the last year and a half. As I said in one of the previous videos, I stopped tracking around the end of 2022. I stopped tracking my food. And so I've been eating intuitively. And the thing about intuitive eating is that if you've got a pretty solid routine and you feel pretty stable on an emotional level, you're not too stressed, you're going to be eating in maintenance. And this is why intuitive eating is very powerful, because it allows you to keep in shape and keep yourself where you are without much of an effort, because the body, as we know, is consistently working for homeostasis, meaning that it's looking to stay exactly where it is. And so again, if there isn't anything traumatic or too difficult going on with us on an emotional level, when eating intuitively, we're going to keep ourselves on maintenance. Now, if you're going through something in your life, depending on what your physiological response is to that, you might actually end up eating more or eating less. This depends on who you are as a person. Some people eat more while going through emotional stress, some people eat less, some people don't eat at all, some people binge. So it's obviously very person dependent. I'm definitely kind of person that when I'm stressed out, I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat. And it's happened quite a few times in the last year and a half that I was going through some pretty stressful patches, and I was definitely under eating. I'm also notorious for getting quite locked in and almost obsessed. When I switch on work mode, I can work for hours and not eat, not drink. Sometimes I don't even go to the toilet. I literally don't even think about it. And it might sound pretty crazy to you, or you might actually relate to that, but that's literally what happens. Even at the moment, I have to set up alarms for myself to make sure that I get off my desk and I eat, especially on a day like Sunday that is literally packed and there's so much to do and I'm literally glued to my laptop. So yeah, at the back of eating intuitively in the last year and a half or so, I definitely ended up under eating. And yes, of course, I knew what was happening. I could tell by my physique that I was constantly flat, because actually I do need a lot of carbohydrates to fill out my frame, believe it or not. Even though I'm really light, my frame is actually tiny. So even though I'm only 86 kilos, there's actually quite a bit of muscle tissue on my frame. I remember when I was going through my illness back in the day, I weighed as low as 35 kilograms. So I'm pretty sure that my bones are quite light, and yet my frame is literally tiny. And I think this is mostly genetics, by the way. Fun fact, I'm actually the tallest one in my family. That's how crazy it is. So yeah, I knew that I was under eating. I knew that I was flat all the time, but I just decided to ignore it, quite simply because I still looked the part. I still looked good enough for Instagram, but deep down I knew that I could do more. And I've always been pushing myself with the training, and I think even though I was under eating, somehow I must have built a little bit of muscle, because to be this lean, this body weight right now, I must have built a fair amount of lean tissue. And honestly, I don't want to sound cocky or overly confident. I think it was purely just down to the way that I trained and the programming that I had, which actually allowed me to progress with my lifts without having to necessarily eat a lot of food and eat more or less than maintenance calories, maybe slightly below at times, as we said. But yeah, this is obviously not the best approach. I wouldn't advise anybody on doing it this way. And in all honesty, it actually beat my confidence down for a while, knowing that I could have done more and I just didn't. Of course, I had a million reasons to justify myself. I had the business to take care of. I had lots of stuff going on in my personal life. And I've genuinely been in survival mode for quite a few months. I had so many different other things that I wanted to prioritize that just taking care of my physique and my health kind of took a bit of a step back. But that's also partly why I wanted to start this YouTube. It was to document my own journey and to put a little bit more effort into doing more of what I know I could do. And as I said in one of my first videos, I really have an issue with the feeling of going to bed knowing that you could have done more. And sometimes you can't spread yourself too thin and you have to make choices. This is why I knew that prioritizing myself would have come as a bit of a sacrifice. And that's kind of what I'm dealing with at the moment. I'm trying to juggle everything to make sure that I give enough time and effort to my own personal journey and obviously recording for you guys. This is me being completely honest and transparent as usual. You might not even care about any of this, but if you can relate a little bit, you know that in life everything comes at a cost. And we literally cannot take anything for granted. And that, of course, you can't pour from an empty cup. And for as much as I was dedicating the whole of myself to helping other people and helping my clients and pushing the business, I wasn't really walking the walk. And that was definitely taking a toll on my self-esteem. Anyway, rant over. Let's watch this check-in and let's comment it together. So yeah, as you guys can see, definitely a lot fuller than last week. Definitely the fullest that I've been in quite a while. And what's interesting is that even though body weight is nearly 2 kilograms heavier than last time, body composition seems to be improved. I actually look a little bit crispier, definitely not softer. And that's just a clear sign that I was definitely still flat. And to be honest, I still think that I could be filling out even more. This is usually the case, by the way, guys. The moment that you fill out and you carb up, you actually look leaner than when you were eating less, just because your muscles were really flat. And so some of the details weren't able to kind of pop and come out. So nutrition wise, we're going to keep things the same for next week. As you guys know, I don't really track. I create the meal plan for myself and then I stick to that. I much prefer that. For as much as I teach flexible dieting to all my clients, I don't really like the idea of tracking my food. I much prefer creating a meal plan for me and just sticking to that. I like not having options. I like eating the same things every day. It just makes my life a lot easier. And whenever I fancy something different, I can always then add it on MyFitnessPal or whatever app you use to track, and then swap things around to make sure that we are within the same calories and macros. Training wise, it's been a fantastic week. I really enjoyed the increase of the volume. So far, I didn't really notice a loss in strength, but it's a little bit early to say. So I'm looking forward to another week and just seeing how my body reacts to that. From previous years of adopting this style of training, I definitely noticed that my body responds really well to a high volume training. The only issue with that is that it's obviously a lot more difficult to get stronger unless you're really backed up by a lot of food, which is obviously what we're aiming to do. My step count is still very low at the moment, around 8,000, which is really the baseline, is really the bare minimum. But on a days like Sunday, I'm literally getting 2,000 steps in because I'm, again, just glued to my laptop. So whenever I can get more steps, I try to accumulate them so that the weekly average doesn't drop too low. But I'm happy to keep them a baseline around 8,000. And that includes the cardio that I'm doing post-workout as well, which, by the way, I'm dropping down to 3 times a week. Quite simply because the sessions are getting longer because of the extra volume. And I just want to take it one step at a time. 3 times a week, I can definitely work on my cardiovascular system, as well as obviously shortening the rest times in between sets, which kind of helps with that as well. Overall, to be honest, I'm just really happy to be back on track and having a much clearer path to follow with my fitness and my physique. This is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time here, I'm posting 1 vlog a day for a year straight. So if you enjoyed this, if you found it valuable, feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you tomorrow.